Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable, life can be a little bit dark, so we are here to bring you as much light and as much joy as we possibly can. I'm Bradley, and joining me via the magic of editing is Stu, because again, life has got in the way, so we're having to do separate. Before I go on, just want to pay tribute to one of the greatest directors I think that's ever lived in film and was a seminal part of my formative years, and that is Rob Reiner, who tragically passed away this past week. And it was tragic what happened, everything with his son and what caused him to do what he did, and it's just horrible. But just go back, find a Rob Reiner film that you may have loved, whether that be Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, anything like that. This is Spinal Tap, any of them, plus countless others. Go back and watch his, if you want something more modern, I suppose, go back and watch his role as Jesse's father in You Girl. Absolutely shows his comedy chops there as well. A tragic loss, and our thoughts are with him and his wife at this time. So moving on to video games, and really it's been a bumpy year in 2025. One of the best I think we've ever known, as you'll find out in a couple of weeks with our Game of the Year discussions. We're not really awards. We discuss what's been absolutely fantastic, but with it being such a mammoth year, really, and a high quality year, there's been a few games that have come out in the past couple of months, I would say, that have slid under the radar a bit. They're not really going to be in the conversation, but they are still fantastic games in their own right, most of them. Some of them have a little bit of work to do, but that's what we're here to discuss now. So I'm just going to want to go over a few of these, just very short on each one. Why I think you should maybe check them out, maybe why, it depends on the sort of games that you like. So starting off with, we are looking at Super Farming Boy, which is a farming game, obviously, but in a more arcade sense, that has, well, I would argue some puzzle elements in there, almost match-free elements in there, which come together really, really well. So you're looking at creating sort of like combos of different seeds and plants and things like that to sort of like get your crops together and everything. And it's basically taking the core aspect of your farming sims and going, what can we do different with it? So it's not just trying to be another Story of Seasons. It's not trying to be another Stardew Valley or anything like that. It's gone, what can we do? Much in the same way that Atomic Crops did, which took the farming sim but turned it into this kind of roguelike bullet hell type game as well. And it was an interesting one. And this has that as well. So it has these match-free elements in there. And everything's really fast-paced. It's got a style that apes Cuphead a little bit, I suppose, without actually going, oh, Cuphead, do you remember that? You can sense the influence there. It's gone for that kind of cartoony look. And all in all, what I really want to get to with this, it is just a super fun game that you can pick up for about a tenner. You'll get a few hours out of it, but yeah, definitely worth picking up. Works absolutely flawlessly on Steam Deck as well, which is great. So yeah, pick up Super Farming Boy if you get the chance. Next up is a game that I want to really like, but I think needs almost, I don't know, a bit more time in the oven, maybe some patching or just some better onboarding. And that is Keep the Heroes Out. What you have here is it's a tower defense, dungeon defense style game that I believe is based on a board game or a tabletop game, whereby you are basically, heroes are coming in to do their heroing things, and you need to set up various different traps and defenses to stop them. And where it's based on a board game, tabletop game, and uses cards, etc., etc., that is how you play the game. So it's kind of a deck builder in there as well, that kind of thing. And so you get waves of enemies or heroes coming through, and you need to basically find a way to stop them. Now, the game, once I got into it, is really, really good. You could definitely see how it works as a board game. The animation styles are in there. Like, I love the art style of it. It's really colourful, and it's got lots going on without ever taking away from it being a board game first. It's still got that feeling to it, and it's something I've discussed on the show before, where I want to see more people take the board game and turn it into a video game. But, you know, how a video game can enhance a board game, and this does this really well. The only problem for me with this is the onboarding was confusing as hell, and I think I went through tutorial levels about 4 or 5 times before I really got a grasp of it to then move on to doing other stuff. And I think we often talk about hand-holding in video games and how some video games definitely don't need it. You know, Dark Souls does a brilliant job. We recently spoke about routine, and that doesn't hold your hand at all, and it works for it. Stu found it absolutely amazing. However, I think a game like this, which has a lot of complicated mechanics to it, from looking in initially, I think you need hand-holding. It needs to really try and explain what you're doing, not just go, oh, this is this, this is this. And it does lack there, which is a shame, because it can be off-putting, I suppose, for people who may not be used to sort of like these board games, and how the complicated rule sets can go, especially when you're picking it up as a video game. So, really good game. Could honestly just do with a bit of work to help people get into it. Otherwise, I would say this would be a brilliant one to pick up for Christmas. You know, 15 quid it comes out as. Works absolutely fine on Steam Deck as well. I have no issues with it there because it's got controller support. But it's also 1 to 4 player co-op as well, and I think it's a good one to get the family around. But when you're probably going to spend an hour or so trying to work the game out and then hope you all get it, that's another issue. But, you know, very good game, one worth picking up if you're into board games. That's a definite. Next up from me is a game that's not really in my wheelhouse, or one that I would argue is one of my favourite genres. But we've got here a survival game called Burrow, where basically you're in this cosy woodland and you need to basically survive. There's story, there's crafting, exploration, gathering of materials, all that kind of thing. Various different meters you need to manage in a positive way. It's a game built around it, so it works. It's not, you're here and then we've got these pointless meters just to add to it. It's built around these survival meters and things. So you go out and you've got to survive and expand and build and end up flourishing. So you've got your settlement that you need to build, and you go out, explore, and there's different wildlife out there, and, you know, different types of danger depending on what you've actually done to sort of like improve yourself and that kind of thing. And it's a really interesting one because they describe it, I suppose it's right, it's a cozy survival game, and it is that because even though you have got to survive, it's that you never really feel unduly stressed. Obviously, there is that element of I've got to get this working. This has all got to come together. But it's not one where it's constantly stressing you out. You do have to go out into the wilderness, and that could bring its own challenges. And then you get back to the safety of your home, and then it's what do I do with it? But it's all done at a pace and given to you in a way which is, yeah, I'm just out here, I'm surviving, but I kind of like it. And I'm okay with that. Again, it's an interesting one. I've been playing this on and off on the Steam Deck. It's got some lovely music behind it as well. I found myself just losing myself to the soundtrack, in all fairness, while I was playing it. So, yeah, a really, really good game. And another one that's got controller support. Some minor text issues, I think, with it on Steam Deck. But nothing major. It's better than others that I've played in that sphere, really, where there's just too much text and menus and stuff that don't come together. But yeah, it's fine in that, and it's a pretty decent game that, which again, arguing most other years would probably get a lot more attention. But we're in 2024. No, we're not. We're in 2025, and it'll be forgotten by most, unfortunately. But ultimately, for this week and to see out the year with newish games, is a deck builder Souls-like. I believe that's how it's described. And yeah, it's really weird. You've kind of like, I was expecting it. It's Death Howl is the game. And it's a journey you go on. You kind of get awakened, and there's these like forest spirits and things like that. Really dark and gothic looking, but also very sort of like basic graphics, which is really, really good. And you kind of start off into this world, and stuff happens, and there's death, and there's a story there, and it's really interesting. And then you have to explore this world, being wary of enemies. And the Souls-like stuff comes in is you find the equivalent of campfire, so like these ritual stones, and they will reset the world, but allow you to reset your health, upgrade, and all things like that. But it's also a deck builder, so you've kind of got this natural exploration where you walk around this interconnected world, unlocking new bits to get further, unlock shortcuts, all of that. And then you'll come against enemies. And what you get then, when you come against the enemies, is a grid-based, turn-based deck building mode. So you go in and you might come up against a single enemy, and you get given cards which might be do this attack, and when you do this attack, push the enemy back 2 spaces. And then you might have another card which is throw a rock. All very basic stuff to start with to ease you into it. But then you've also got to consider positioning. Can you throw a rock, do a bit of damage, and get far enough away that the enemy can't reach you on their moves? Or can you avoid? Can you take? Right, I've got where the Souls-like comes into it. Is you go, right, I've actually got a new ritual stones area to get to straight after. So if I take damage now, I'm okay. So can you do that? Can you go, right, I can take a bit of damage, get the upgrade, I'll get the bonuses and all the bits, go to get my upgrades, and then go further, making this enemy a bit easier. So then you've got to unlock new cards for your deck, which give you new moves on the grid, and then you go and sort of like get stronger and stronger and stronger. And again, it comes together really, really well. And whilst the cards don't have the best explanations in them, it's this is where I think it's very much a Souls-like in respect, because when you play a Dark Souls, a Blood Bowl, or anything like that, yes, you know the basics of what the weapons are and everything, but you do need to experiment to use them to their best. And whilst you know, like, this is an attack card, this is an attack card, this one's melee, this one's more distance, this is a defensive one, this is something to maneuver, you kind of have to work out how they all best fit together and what bonuses they can give each other, such as when you put armor on in the Dark Souls games. So it comes together really well. Now, I think this may go under the radar a little bit because it's not flashy, and it's not the best deck builder. It's not the best Souls-like. It's not the best turn-based game. But at the same time, it's different. It's a different game, and I implore anyone who's into any of those genres to give this a go. Another one I've played on Steam. This one's actually verified. And worked absolutely perfectly out of the box. It's for me, the darkness. It's like black backgrounds with on the whole, not completely, but it's darker backgrounds, especially at the start with legible text, which is really good. So it's got good accessibility in there as well. But an absolutely fine game that I really enjoyed, and it's a shame I didn't get to spend more time with it ahead of Game of the Year discussions, because I think once I get further into this could be one that may have crept into those discussions. Unfortunately, it's released a bit late in the year for that. But yeah, well worth checking out. Highly, highly recommended. And finally, for 2025, the final new game of 2025 for me. And what better way than to go with a match-free puzzle game that is just fascinating, really. And it's called Dialoop Roguelite Puzzle. So the core concept of this is you're going through on a journey and you come across different enemies. And each enemy you take on, you basically have to whittle down their XP by doing this sliding match-free puzzle board with different colours and shapes on it. So you might basically, to do damage, you would match 3 triangles, and that'll do some basic damage. Or you'd match 3 like blue circles, and that'll do some basic damage. Or you can do 4, and you get extra damage plus a bonus thing that you can then use with others, and you get combos. But you've only got X amount of moves to do it. And with all of these roguelites, some of the early enemies are fairly easy to introduce you, and then you get bosses, then you get harder enemies, and you need to progressively increase your stats and your attributes and get good buffs and debuffs and get things that work well together that might increase your multiplier, and basically build a deck as you go, because between every round, as with like a Slay the Spire or Balactro or anything like that, you get to pick up an upgrade. And so it might be that you get, if you match X yellow triangles, you gain a plus 0.1% multiplier bonus. So you go, right, can I build it around doing these? You might get other bonuses in there that might say to you, every time you match 4 or less than 5, or there's less than this, or there's more than this on the grid when you do a match, you do this bonus or get this multiplier and so on. You might gain extra moves to do it in. So rather than, I think, the 5 you get, you might get a 6th move that you can make to try and give you that extra bit to get through. And the single-player journey is really, really good. You unlock new characters at quite a rate, actually. Almost an overwhelming amount. Whereas a lot of other roguelites I played, such as Slay the Spire, which is the perfect example, you don't get given new characters to try at such a rate. You want to spend time with each one, and this feels like it doesn't want you to. It's a little bit there that's a bit of a shame. But you get different characters that might give you better starting things. So others might do more damage with certain matches. Others give you more, maybe an extra move or higher health for yourself, or reduce the enemy's health. All different, loads of little different things, or give you more money to spend in shops. All of that. It's really good, and it's a great one just to pick up and play for 5 minutes here or there. What this has also got is a really good multiplayer mode to it, and one that really did surprise me in that the best way to put this is it's almost like a battle royale multiplayer mode where everyone's playing to start off with the same grid, and then you play, you do your matches, and whoever's got the lowest score out of everyone gets knocked out at the end of the initially the 5 rounds. So you've got to try and get your best combos, and again, you still get your upgrades, but they're mystery upgrades and things like that. And the idea is to finish top of the pile. It's really good, and each round lasts 30 seconds to a minute at most, and a game might last 3 minutes, 4 minutes, depending. You can do it against bots or against other people as well, which is really good. I think there's local multiplayer in it, there's online multiplayer in it, loads of options there to keep you going. I believe there's daily runs and all stuff like that as well that's involved. And yeah, it's a really fantastic game. A Dialoop is again another one that I think has come out a bit too late in the year to really make an impact when everyone's starting to wind down and go, right, we've just got the Game of the Year awards. I might not have played this, or I really should get to this one now if it's winning all the awards. If you haven't played Clair Obscur, play Clair Obscur. So this might not get the attention it deserves, a bit much like Death Howl. But this one is around the £6 mark, and I think becomes almost ideal as a little treat, a little Secret Santa gift to any gamer friends out there. If you play this and enjoy it, get them this maybe. I think for the Steam sale, it's about £6, just over. Might be worth picking up, giving to someone to play, get some multiplayer sessions going. But yeah, absolutely wonderful game. Having a great time with it. And I've added it to my dailies. Still in early access as well, and it's a really good bundle for an early access game. Lots in there. It feels feature complete, so can't wait to see what they do next. And with that, that's my last few new quote-unquote games for 2025. Still got a few that will be outstanding that I've not got round to playing yet, and we'll play and cover early in the new year. Seto Corsa Rally I've got the Last Ninja collection, Into the Grid, that's got to be played, and Corgi Space, which is a collection of Pico games. So I'll cover those in the new year, because I've not got round to playing them yet. Finishing off some bits that I'm playing, and then can get on those properly and give them the attention they will most likely deserve. But yeah, in the coming weeks, we have a discussion on what the hell is wrong with the industry, what's going wrong, and we'll be talking AI, we'll be talking Microsoft, layoffs, all those kinds of things. And then as we hit into 2026, the first couple of weeks, we will be talking Game of the Year, which for me, we know there's no surprise, but there's a lot of other games that should be in the conversation for the best also ran. I know Stu's got his favourite, as he's not the biggest fan of Clair Obscur, which is fine. Honestly, it's fine. Got no issues with that whatsoever. It's fine. But yeah, no, we've got those to discuss. So yeah, plenty to come. Hopefully health improves for 2026, and I can actually start getting some of my content out there more regularly, because there's loads that I want to do with the site that I've been unfortunately held back from doing recently, and I want to get going. I want to get onto it. So hopefully all that to come in 2026. But if you don't listen to us before our next episode, because I don't know when it's going, it might be just after Christmas, have a wonderful holidays and gather around your evergreen tree, I suppose. Goodbye.
Thank you, Brad, and hello from me, Stu. So, life continues to pose challenges and ask questions, to which the only answer seems to be play more video games. So I've been doing that very thing. The first one that I've been playing is a game called Unbeatable, which I presume is beatable. I just have not got to that point yet. But it's a rhythm action game with a heavy story element. And basically it starts off with you're playing this character who's about to go live on stage and play in a band. And you go through that, and then you play a bit of a rhythm action section. And then the story goes back into a in medias res kind of situation where you're this strange girl who meets up with another strange girl and then start to follow her around and maybe form a band. It's very, very odd. It's done in kind of paper cutout style with a heavy Jet Set Radio influence in the visuals, and the rhythm action is quite good. It's well mixed up, and there are various, especially in the story sections, various segments where you're flipping between going into the screen, button presses to sound audio bars like you would in Taiko no Tatsujin. And then you have sections where it's press the button at the right time that is more like Parappa the Rapper. And it mixes it up from there, really, which is nice. You know, there's plenty of variety in the way that it does that. The story itself hasn't really grasped me. I kind of don't go in for illustrative stories in video games. I prefer to just have more pure gameplay rather than being part of a story that is animated but I don't get to interact with very much. But you might click with it. However, there is an arcade mode where you can just play all of the tunes, and the tunes are fantastic. They're these great indie rock tunes that are actually really, really well made, nicely constructed. They've got depth, they've got proper melodies, and they're really well produced as well at the same time. So yeah, a kind of outstanding for the genre level of quality pop songs. And on that pure fact alone, you definitely pick it up and have a go at the arcade mode, which I think anyone into these games will enjoy. It isn't quite as tough as what was it called? The Necrodancer, Crypt of the Necrodancer, if that's what it's called. Sorry, Stu from the future here. Rift of the Necrodancer is the one I played earlier this year, which I thought was okay. It's not as tough as that, and the music's better. The story option may or may not work for you. It didn't work for me, but it might work for you. But yeah, everything else about it is really outstanding. And if you're into this sort of game, it's, you know, solid pickup for you, I would say. Definitely go for it. And the theming and the graphical effects are really fun. They pop. They've got energy, got a dynamism to them, and that suits the whole aesthetic and dynamic of this kind of game. Cartoonish, bright, and just smashing through it. So yeah, a double thumbs up from me for that one. And next up, which sounds like it might be in the same vein, but actually isn't, is a game called Thrasher. Now, Thrasher is a spiritual sequel to Thumper, which is a VR game that came out almost 10 years ago. But this is actually very, very different from that one, which was more of a going into the screen, evading items to the music kind of thing. This is, I'd say it's got a Rares or Child of Eden kind of influence, but it's not the same as those either. It's kind of its own thing, which is to its credit. So what you do is it's a VR game, and with a single controller, you control what is basically like a fishing rod with like a worm on the end that transmutes into something bigger, res style, when you're doing success, when you're achieving success. And you have to guide this fishing rod creature around like it's tethered to your rod, with a little bit of delay, obviously, as if it's on a string. Imagine if you're playing with a cat, you know, with a string toy that comes on the end of a little stick. It's one of them. And you're doing this, you have to strike, not notes, but objects and hit all the patterns, and the quicker the better. And the patterns of these things are interjected with bad patterns, like enemy patterns. If you hit one of these enemy objects, you lose your combo, you lose your multiplier. So it's kind of like you're swirling around, as if you're doing painting, like you're painting the air with a sparkler, or, flashily flipping around a little cat's toy, like I said, to try and hit these objects. And that's the best way I can describe it, really. And it sounds like, fun, and it is fun. It's really kind of a enjoyable thing. What's good is that it ramps up the difficulty quite gently, which is good. I mean, it starts off fairly, not difficult, but, challenging, because it's not a natural action because of that built-in delay of the creature going slower than you're pointing. It's not a one-to-one, and this is deliberate. You have to incorporate that little bit of delay because of sort of simulated physics into how you're playing the game, and you can become quite adept at it, and you can like spin little circles in the air to keep your combo going even when there's no enemies and no obstacles around. You can spin round obstacles and enemies, to get to the items that you need to smash. And it's quite entertaining and intricate. At the end of each stage, you fight a boss, and that's kind of, the same pattern of behaviour, except there are sections where a bomb will appear in the middle of a bunch of obstacles, and you have to work your way into where it is to strike it so that will hit the boss. But it's essentially the same as the standard gameplay. It's just, the speed and the tension ramps up for those encounters, which is natural to what you would do in boss fights. It does draw you in. It's very, very lightweight. And that's not like a direct criticism. It's not overly simplistic. It's designed to be straightforward. And it's quite pretty. It doesn't do anything particularly incredible. I think it's probably aimed at... I played the PC version, but I think it's probably aimed at, the Quest and the lower end Quest, which is the one I have. I've got a Quest 2, and it can't exactly push tons of polys. So it's probably aimed at that. So it's very, very simple to look at, although, attractive and appealing enough. Although it doesn't do anything new, especially as it follows the res aesthetic fairly closely, but doesn't change a great deal either. And I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity, because with Res, it was all about the atmosphere of flying into these new and exciting environments, and they were depicted in very straightforward, unshaded polygons or flat lines, and it was computationally very easy to produce, but very, very attractive at the same time. Whereas these tend to be static kind of backgrounds that don't change a great deal. That's a little bit of a miss, I would say, but it's nice and clean. It's easy to parse what's going on. There's a lot of black in the background, so your eyes don't get too tired, and the bright objects are stimulatingly bright, but not enough to be off-putting or tiring for after a little while's play. All in all, I'd say it's a nice little curio to have a play around with. Be a very good intro to people who haven't played a lot of VR, because you don't have to turn around much, you don't have to use complex controls, there aren't really any buttons to use either. You're just moving the item around with the stick, with your hand gestures. So very straightforward, very simplistic, but gentle and amusing enough, and I'd recommend it as an intro game or a family game. The final one for me to finish off with is Pragmata Sketchbook, which is the demo of Pragmata, which is coming out as a full release in April next year, so only a few months away after the 5-year wait or whatever it is that we've had so far. And it's one of my most anticipated games. And the demo, at least, is, as I sort of suspected, it feels very Resident Evil-y. It feels like the remake games in terms of the physics, the over the shoulder view and the way that you shoot and fight, and the button prompts, it all feels very familiar in a good way, with very aligned with that modern Resident Evil style. Where it differs is that, for a start, it's a sci-fi concoction. So you're on this base on the moon. Flashbacks to routine from last week that I was talking about, and it seems to be the big thing. No, you live on the moon, that's where we're going to be in the future, and fair play, thumbs up for me if that's what happens. But you've got to battle your way off, and you're rescuing this android who sits on your back, and you fight robots. But the trick and the change and the uniqueness comes in that when you draw down, as long as you're in range of the robots that you're attacking, you'll see a prompt come up on the right-hand side of the screen, which is your android companion's ability to hack. And you do a little hacking game using the face buttons, sort of fairly simplistic, at least in the demo, and I expect it will ramp up as things go on in the main game, where you have to guide your cursor around a grid using up, down, left and right, and go through as many sort of debuff items and debuffing the enemy items and buffing yourself, and they're coloured differently, before you hit the green. Like, there's always a green button in this puzzle. Before you hit the green button to activate that, and then you can shoot them. You can shoot them without doing any of the debuffs, but the enemies will take 0 damage. You have to complete these little puzzles. And, it plays very much like a kind of Pipe Mania game, or one in that style, where you're basically making a connection across a grid. And the difficulty comes in that you're still trying to evade in the real world, and you're trying to make sure that you don't double back on yourself, because then it'll fail, and you don't block yourself off from reaching the green button and things like that. So it sounds a bit awkward, but in reality, once you get the hang of it, which doesn't take long at all, it's great fun, because you do feel like you're doing a real-time hack, even though it's an incredibly simplistic interface. And what's good as well is that there's that thing of you have to be close to them to be able to do it. So there's a kind of risk-reward of zipping in and out. You have to be mindful of where you are physically in space if you're being attacked by groups. And you have a dodge system as well. And if you do it at the very last moment, you get a pause, like a slowdown effect on the enemies, so you have more time to complete the puzzle. Coupled that with the kind of buffs that I started to see, even in the demo, which is about 20 minutes long, and the variety of weapons you've got, I can see there being some really clever ways of integrating both of those into a quite sophisticated and fun manner of play. So even though the demo is quite simple, it's very much worth your time seeing if you click with it. Some people have been saying it's like a QTE thing. It's not a QTE thing at all. You're not pressing a button in a time frame. It's not like a rhythm action game. It's not like a QTE thing where you've only got a certain reaction time, the reaction window in which to do this. You've got all the time in the world, apart from when you're going to get punched in the face. But you can maneuver around. It's really like the speedier you are, the better you benefit. But it isn't done to a timer. So yeah, and I won't go into detail on things like the visuals or the weaponry or the acting or the graphics or any of that, because we'll go into that when I do the full review in a few months. But suffice to say is if you've got a PC, get the demo completely free. It's coming out on consoles, but I'm not sure when the demo's coming out on consoles. It might even be out now, but I don't know. So yeah, check it out if you get the opportunity and see what you think of it. We'll leave it there. That's it. So as Brad said, I wish you all a very happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. Hope you have a great break if you get some time off. Hope you have fun with your family, or if you're choosing to or not able to be with them, I hope you have a good time on your own. Always feel like you can reach out to ourselves on the Discord channel if you want to chat, and we'll be around, or feel free to message us directly, and we'll happily, as soon as we see it, we'll speak to you and have a little natter. Don't feel like you got to be alone at Christmas if you don't want to be. We're always here for you. I know it can be a bit strange contacting people you don't know, but we're nice people, I promise. And apart from that, enjoy your gaming, and we shall catch you very soon. Stay safe and stay sane.